Good evening. We'll get started. Welcome to the Town of Waukesha Plan Commission meeting of Thursday, September 11th, 2014. Probably obvious to you, Chairman Merrick is not here tonight. We don't expect him to be here. We have a procedure in our town ordinances for chairing meetings in the absence of the chair. We'll deal with that in a minute after we go through the call to order here and roll call. Assuming Mr. Merrick doesn't show up, and we have no reason to believe he will, we'll elect a temporary chairman for the meeting. So we are called to order. If the clerk would please call the roll of the Plan Commission members. We can do that. We do that at this meeting as well as the Plan Committee, or as well as the Plan Board, or excuse me, as well as the Town Board meeting. All right. Well, let's then do it then and now. Pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Would you call the roll, please?
Robert Flanagan. Dan Buchholz. Here. Alan White. Here. Brian Fisher.
Here.
Bob Stigler. Here. And Ken Miller, thanks.
And noted that Chairman Merrick is not here this evening. We would then, or the temporary chair would entertain a motion for someone for a temporary chair for the rest of the meeting. Who are you? All right. Is there a second? All right, all those indicate in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. And you would record me as an abstention, please, Madam Clerk. Have we complied with all of the town ordinance and statutory requirements for posting this meeting?
Yes, we have.
Okay, thank you. Item 4 on our agenda, we do have an opportunity at the Plan Commission meeting here to have citizens' comments. If anyone would like to address the Town Plan Commission, please come forward and state your name and address, and we will accord you 3 minutes of time to speak to us.
Hi, David Bellman, S62W23750, Town Line Road, Waukesha. If you have a chance, I'm having a little issue with the garbage pickup company. For some reason, I've been missed about 5 times this year. And I call and they're really good about, coming back out later and cleaning it up and everything. But if you wouldn't mind just maybe putting me on a watch list or something, I would appreciate it. Got a family of about 6 raccoons, and they enjoy the treats in the garbage. So it's just something that they can watch it. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I might just note, I don't know that we've ever had anybody come forward and ask to be put on a watch list, but consider it done, okay? Thank you. All right, item 5 on our, are there any other citizens' comments? Going one more time? Okay, then we'll move ahead with minutes. Item 5 on our agenda, you should have minutes before you of the Plan Commission meeting of Thursday, August 14th. If you had a chance to review there, are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? Motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes of the Plan Commission meeting of August 14th, 2014. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 6, discussion and possible action on a site plan and plan of operation amendment. The owner, and if I mispronounce this and someone's in the audience, please excuse me, but Alpenglow Investments LLC, applicant Ken Welsh. Is there someone here to appear on this matter? Sure. If you want to come forward for a minute, we're going to have a staff presentation, but either at the microphone or grab a seat up in the corner, and when we, right over there, wherever comfortable. Oh. Fair enough. Okay. So just hang by there. I think first we're probably going to go to Planner Rybarczyk. Are you going to introduce this matter to the Plan Commission, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before you tonight is Matheson Metal Fab. It's a light to medium gauge custom sheet metal fabricator in the town. They've been operating since 1967. They've undergone several additions since they've been with us in the town. The current building is roughly 26,000 square feet, and they have right now 30 employees that work over 2 shifts. And the site, Ken and I, since I originally drafted my staff report, have been having some correspondences back and forth, and I was actually able today, just before the meeting, actually go out to the site and meet with him. My staff report shows that they have a total of 26 parking stalls, or I'm sorry, 35 parking stalls. That's actually inaccurate. I was, again, able to walk the site with them. They only have 26 stalls that are out there. The difference is that some of the stalls that I had seen on the aerial and the site plan are actually not used because it's used as part of the circulation for the semi-trucks to come in, pull into those stalls, and then back into the loading dock. So currently they have 26 parking stalls. What they're looking to do is that at the far west end of the parking lot, they already have an existing concrete pad, and then it's lawn. They want to add an additional 7 parking stalls there for employee parking. Again, when I originally looked at the site plan and looked at the aerial, the dimensions were off. Ken had originally asked for 7 parking stalls, but when I had put a scale to the site plan, all I could fit in was 5. We did do the field verification today before the meeting. There is actually roughly 62 to 63 feet that is there, which would be adequate per our zoning ordinance for 7 stalls. What has also happened is that in the site plan, on the north end, where the parking is at, the far west, those last 4 stalls actually are not used. If you go out there on the site, they're actually crossed off. And again, that's because that's where the semi comes in. He pulls in there and then backs up to the loading dock. So where they're proposing the 7 parking stalls, there's not going to be any conflict with existing stalls there as far as cars backing in and out. Along with that, since they were coming forward for the request of the 7 parking stalls, they were also looking at modifying their hours of operation. Currently, their hours of operation are Monday through Friday, 5 a.m. to 1 a.m., Saturday, 5 a.m. to midnight, and then closed on Sunday. Their business has been expanding. They do have a lot of orders right now that they're having some trouble fulfilling because of those hours and the number of shifts that they have. And then also the pieces of equipment, they can't necessarily buy more equipment to meet the needs because of the space of the building. So what they're looking at doing is they're proposing to potentially go to a 3rd shift, and they're looking for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so that they can keep up with their production. Because of the increase in the hours of operation and their thoughts about going to a 3rd shift, Ken and I did have a discussion. Right now, their plan of operation shows that they have 30 employees. I had asked him to take a look at that and see if he wanted to increase it. At the time that I put my staff report together, I had put in 35 employees, so increasing it by 5. When I spoke to Ken earlier today, he said that he would like to go to 45 employees. I think that's kind of a long-term goal for them, but since he's here before the Plan Commission, the board tonight, he'd like to ask for it now so that he doesn't have to come back in a year or 2 to amend the plan of operation. So when it's all said and done, they'll have a total of 33 parking stalls. That includes the 7 that they're asking for, and they would be looking for a max of 45 employees that would be over potentially 3 shifts. And right now, the way that the configuration of the machinery in the building is laid out, the max that they could ever have is 30 employees per shift. So there won't be an issue with necessarily the parking arrangements. They'll have enough parking on site for those employees. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Chairman, and see if there's any questions for either Chris or myself.
Okay. Discussion, questions from the members of Plan Commission?
Sure. I'll make proposal with the staff recommendations, 1250.
Okay. Is there a second to the motion? Second. Might I ask Mr. Macy just a question? Is it appropriate, this is noticed as site plan and plan of operation amendment, can we take those together, or do they need to be separately considered?
You can take them together.
Okay, and is that the intention of your motion? Okay. Mr. Welsh, anything that you would care to share with the Plan Commission?
I'm gonna hire him, he knows everything about it.
Do you want to pay his bill for tonight?
I think I'm going to anyhow.
Probably. All right, consider it done. It's an amazing night. We had somebody that wanted to have a check done, and somebody wants to pay all the bills. It's a good night.
I didn't say all.
All right, okay, well, a little misconstrued. Before we vote on that, just even backing up a bit under our roll call, apologize, I forgot to acknowledge the presence here of our great staff of Attorney Macy, Engineer Janelli, and Planner Barczak, so we can add that to it. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I do believe the motion was made to recommend to the town board. I believe that's the, without condition number 6, I'd like to have some discussion. I respect that you don't want that to be there, but I want to make sure we didn't just ignore it, if we could.
All right.
Maybe Chairman, the planner could explain why he put it in there, and then the maker of the motion could explain why he didn't include it.
Sure. Why don't you, if you would, Jamie, why don't you identify or even read exactly what recommendation number 6 is, so everybody is on exactly the same page, and then go into some detail, please?
Sure. Condition number 6, it says a plan of operation shall require Matheson Metal Fab to close all doors and overhead doors at 8 p.m. to decrease any nuisance of noise to the abutting single-family residents. There is, just to the west of this property, the town's industrial park does adjoin the city of Waukesha residential neighborhood. We did in our files, I think was early on when the business was established, there was a noise complaint and it was addressed at that time. This was in our discussions with Ken, that they have an internal office policy that they close the doors and the overhead doors at 8 o'clock to reduce the noise. But as they have been growing and buying new equipment, it's getting quieter and quieter as well, just because of the industry standards. But I did put that in there just in case there was any concerns, or if we had any residents that showed up and were wanting to voice their concerns. I thought that it was a condition that we could include.
I'm just going to ask you, I guess, quickly, just so there's absolute clarity on the motion and everyone in the room understands what the staff recommendation conditions of approval are. And again, this is a recommendation to town board, but Jamie, would you just read those for the
Sure.
record, if you will, what those staff recommendation conditions of approval are, please?
Sure. Condition number 1 says, plan of operation attached herein shall continue in full force and effect and shall be adhered to as part of this approval, except as to such terms and conditions as are expressly amended by this approval. Condition number 2 says that the plan of operation shall reflect the change in hours of operation from Monday through Sunday, 24 hours a day. Condition number 3 will read, the site plan shall reflect a total of 33 parking stalls, including the requested 7 additional parking stalls. And number 4 will say, the 7 additional parking stalls shall be constructed in a manner that does not cause adverse drainage to adjoining properties. And then condition number 5 is the plan of operation shall reflect a total of 45 full-time employees or part-time equivalent. And then number 6, if the plan commission so chooses to keep, is the plan of operation shall require Matheson Metal Fab to close all doors and overhead doors after 8 p.m. to decrease any nuisance of noise to the abutting single-family residences.
Okay, and for clarity, the motion, and again, the maker of the motion includes which of those staff recommendations?
1 through 5.
1 through 5. Okay, is everybody clear on the motion? Any further discussion? If not, I sense that we're ready to vote. All those in favor of the motion to approve the site plan and plan of operation amendment for Alpenglow Investments LLC with staff recommendations 1 through 5 indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Okay, motion approved. Just one comment for you, Mr. Welch. We're going to do a do-over of this shortly at the town board meeting as well. I would encourage you, if you're available, to stick around for that. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item number 7, which is noticed as the discussion and possible action on a final plat. The applicant owner is Rolling Oaks 2, Phase 2. The location is part of the northeast 1/4 of the southeast 1/4, northwest 1/4, and southwest 1/4 of section 24, town 6 north, range 819 east, northeast corner of Beheim Road and Guthrie Road, and this item will be a recommendation to the town board. Who is it that's going to address this first?
I will, Mr. Chairman. I think really this is just up for discussion and is kind of more of a housekeeping item than anything. Mr. Bellman from Bellman Homes is here tonight to kind of just walk us through what needs to be done. The final plat has been approved previously by the board and plan commission. And since that time, Mr. Bellman has had to go get review from the state and other agencies to get signatures and so on and so forth, and I believe he's done all of that, and as a end result has to come back to the town for final signatures and recording of the plat, developer's agreement, deed restrictions, and so on and so forth. So really that's all this is in front of us for this evening, is just a kind of an FYI and as a reminder that this occurred several months ago and is kind of now gotten through all the hoops and is ready to be done and done.
Okay, Mr. Bellman, would you like to be heard or amplify that?
Sure. We've gotten the state approval, and we have all the extraterritorial approvals for the plat. So basically at this point, we just have to produce the recordable document and obtain signatures. And then because it's a new phase, even though really the deed restrictions didn't change, we need to record those for the new phase. And developer's agreement did change a little bit, which you guys approved. But so we just have to record the new, and I know you guys like to record it all in sequence, so that would be the plan.
Okay, questions or discussions, comments from any of the plan commissioners?
The drawing that we have here, is that already been corrected, or is that still the old one?
I believe that's probably the old drawing that had some conditions of approval associated with it. I believe the county had made some changes or requested changes.
That's what I was referring to.
Yeah,
Changes that are requested or approved.
correct.
The drawing doesn't reflect that.
That is correct.
Would you like to see that final drawing?
I'll take somebody's word for it, but look at it.
Yeah, I can have, we had some comments from Alan at the county, and we can, I think there were just some typos and things, so we can have those corrected and make sure that, I don't know if you would like to have the town clerk just take a second look at it before we.
Yeah, and
Obviously,
actually I would like a PDF copy if you wouldn't mind,
Okay.
just for my filing purposes.
If our engineer approves it, our attorney approves it, everybody approves it, I make a motion, we approve it.
There's no motion. You already made a motion, and it was, yes.
Who make a motion?
You made the motion back in May, April.
Right.
And at that time, you may remember it because we didn't have the conditions here for you, and you made it subject to the engineer and the planner writing out the conditions. And I'm told, but I want to confirm, that June 16th, I sent out a final plat approval conditions, and those were finalized, and those are what are in the file, correct?
That is
Sent it to
correct.
Jamie on June 16th.
Yep.
Okay, so we have a series of standard, conditions, 1 through 10, that were imposed on the approval. So again, as the chairman's indicated, it's here for, and the engineers indicate, it's for informational to bring you up to date. We have to make sure the final plat, the letter of credit, everything's done before we'll sign it, but there's no action needed tonight. In fact, it might mess you up if we reapprove it after everybody else has done it. It might cause him some problems.
Right.
Okay. Is everybody on board with that? Just a final comment. Thank you, Mr. Bellman. You also are on the town board agenda, and you're welcome to stick around, but it doesn't sound like a lot's going to happen.
That's okay, I'll hang around. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, item number 8 on the Plan Commission agenda is a discussion and possible action on a site plan The applicant owner is Eric Jacobson. The location is S47W24745 Lonsdale Road. Mr. and Mrs. Jacobson are here this evening. We may want to chat with you in a bit, but who has the presentation for this? Jamie, is it you?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick overview of the property. There are two uses that operate on the property, which includes a landscape business, and according to the site plan, they utilize buildings 1, 3, and 4. There's also a service repair business that utilizes building 2, and then there's an agricultural grain silo on the property that is still in use. The petitioner is proposing a 60-foot by 70-foot metal building for the cold storage of landscape vehicles and equipment. It will have a 14 by 14 overhead door on the south elevation and a 24 by 14 sliding door on the west elevation. And then the north elevation is going to incorporate a 4-foot high brick wainscot at the base to dress it up along the street. What's unique about the application tonight is that the proposed building and the lot in its entirety is within the Waukesha County Shoreline and Floodplain Protection Ordinance. And you may have heard Attorney Macy or I mention before, but there was recent legislation that came out of the Hedgewood versus the Town of Eagle court case that basically said that local communities have lost their zoning authority when lands fall within shoreline jurisdiction. So basically, in this circumstance, when the Jacobsons came to me for a planner appointment to talk about it, I had asked them to go to Waukesha County because it was within the shoreline jurisdiction. After a few discussions, a few meetings, Waukesha County said that ultimately they will be reviewing the building. They will be providing the zoning permit, and then the town will be providing the building permit. However, per Section 3 of their county shoreline and floodplain protection ordinance, a site plan of operation, which they have applied for with the county, still requires town review. So because even though it's in the shoreline zoning, based on their zoning ordinance, they're allowing the town to review this. However, where the town's review authority changes slightly is that we're not reviewing it within our zoning code, we're reviewing it within the county's zoning code. So I have done that, and basically it falls under their chapter or section 35 in the Waukesha County Shoreline and Floodplain. And basically my understanding or my interpretation of it is that it meets the minimum setback of 50 feet. It meets the offset, which is the side and rear yard of 10 feet. It meets the building height for the area, which is no greater than 60 feet. And even with this, the new building and all the buildings combined, they're still within the 70% floor area ratio. So as I had reviewed this, I felt that it was within, or was compliant with the Waukesha County Shoreline and Floodplain Protection Ordinance. So with that, I did put a recommendation together for the Plan Commission. And again, another unique aspect of this is that the Plan Commission isn't going to be making a recommendation to the town board. The Plan Commission is going to be making a recommendation to the Waukesha County Planning and Zoning Division staff, who will then take our comments. They will either incorporate them or not incorporate them into their final review. And then the county will, again, produce the zoning permit for the Jacobsons. They'll bring it here, and then Martin will produce the building permit. I don't know if the Plan Commission would like Attorney Macy maybe to talk a little bit more about the court case so that we understand it, because it may come up more in the future.
That's up to the board. We can either do that tonight, or we could hold a special session just on that issue. But basically, the court has said that we no longer have concurrent jurisdiction with the shoreline. For forever, there's been concurrent jurisdiction. And they had to, all developers in the shoreline had to, or all property owners had to abide by the more restrictive of the codes, be it ours or the county shoreline. And the Court of Appeals ruled, Circuit Court ruled, and the Court of Appeals there's one word in the state statutes that the legislation may be asked to fix at some point. We no longer have concurrent jurisdiction, but exclusive jurisdiction. It's going to cause huge problems for people. If you own a lot that's half in shoreline and half out of shoreline, the codes weren't written to deal with that fact. So no one knows exactly what that means until all of the shoreline code gets rewritten and the town code gets rewritten. Unless the legislature steps in and go back to the way it always was, with concurrent jurisdiction. So each case has to be analyzed on a case-by-case basis to decide what effect it's going to have. Some of you are much more familiar with the development that's been for many years been on the boards, down on River Road, I believe it is.
Fred Lather's property.
Yeah, and now they have a huge problem, because half of it, part of it's in shoreline and part of it's not in shoreline. So they gotta meet the requirements of the shoreline side of the county, and they gotta meet our ordinance on the other side, and no longer can we work together. We just have to meet the requirements. It's a very unfortunate situation. We're hoping that maybe the legislature will see that the put it back to the way it was.
Question, before we act on this or have further discussion, I'll direct this to you, Attorney Macy, for a minute. I mean, trying to work through all of the issues of jurisdictional authority. We have, as a town plan commission and town board, looked at this property and the use and development of it in the past, and there have been discussions about the manner in which it's been developed and appearance and that type of thing. Is it inappropriate to have Mr. or Mrs. Jacobson simply come forward and information? I mean, we have your proposal in front of us, but simply share in your own words what it is that you're proposing to do. Is that appropriate?
Yes.
Would you be willing to do that? I mean, simply tell us, I mean, you understand the jurisdictional issues, but simply go through and explain to us what you're about. We appreciate that.
Yeah, we're just, like the building, we just want to.
Come on up just for a minute, the microphone. I mean, just tell us where you're going, okay?
Yeah, we're just putting up a 60 by 70, just cold storage building, just to put the bigger equipment in for the winter, like the road grader and a couple of the cats and the dozer and stuff. So it's just gonna be just, like I said, for cold storage. And we need the bigger doors so we can get like the John Deere grader in with the V and the wing plow on it, and a couple of Macs, and they can have the big plows on.
Okay, leaving aside for a minute, Waukesha County's action on this and everything, your timetable for doing this, if you're not
We wanna get
constrained
going
by
right
others.
away, if we could, you know, soon and get our permits. Want to get it up this fall yet.
Okay. Okay. Questions of Mr. Jacobson or discussion by anybody on the plan commission?
I'll make a motion that we recommend approval to the county review board.
That would be, I assume, with the three staff recommendations as have been put forth by Planner Rubarchek. Okay. Planner Rubarchek, just real quickly paraphrase what those three staff recommendations are, please.
Yes, condition number one is that they continue to operate under the terms and conditions of the CU that they have on the property. Condition number two is that they construct a 60 by 70 metal storage or metal building as has been presented tonight. And then condition number three is payment of all town fees.
Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. If everyone understands the motion, and again, significantly, this is a recommendation to Waukesha County, not to the town of Waukesha Town Board. If everyone understands the motion, the question will be called. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion is approved. Thank you again. You're welcome to stick around, but I think you're not even on the next agenda, but you're welcome to stay.
That's good then, right?
Well. Okay, we're on to item number 9 on the agenda is discussion and possible action on the staff report on non-compliance report for August. Is someone prepared to speak to that tonight? Or not?
We just been working on the accessory structures. I think the last time that staff met was about a month ago that we went through the list. And I believe Mr. DeLacy was going to get us an updated list as to what items have been closed out. I don't know if he had done that yet or
Yes,
or
not.
not. Okay.
Okay, any questions on the staff or on the non-compliance report that was in your packets? If not, unless there's anything else, a motion for adjournment would be in order. Motion and second to adjourn. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. We are adjourned. We will proceed with the,
7:02.
I'm sorry? Yep, I'm sorry. Concluded at 7:02. We'll proceed in about 3 minutes here. We're going to have a changing of the guard. We should just even do a quick explanation to the town board meeting here. Supervisors Radke and Durr will be joining the group and the rest will leave. So thank you very much. Okay, we will resume here with the town board meeting for the town of Waukesha of September 11th, 2014. As with the previous meeting, Chairman Merrick is not in attendance tonight, and we don't expect to see him. Meeting's called to order. We will do a roll call here by the town clerk, and then we will proceed to elect a temporary chairman for the meeting. Would you call the roll, please?
Supervisor Radke?
Here.
Supervisor Wolf?
Here.
Supervisor Durr?
Here.
Supervisor Brian Fisher?
Here.
And Chairman Merrick.
He is not present. Again, our town ordinances anticipate the fact that chairperson might not be here for a meeting, and then the procedure is to elect a temporary chairperson for the meeting. Are there any nominations for temporary chairperson?
I would like to make a motion to nominate Mr. Brian Fisher to be our chairman for the evening.
I'll second that.
All right, any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, and I would ask to be recorded as an abstention. Citizens' comment, item number 4, anyone who would like to address the town board, please come forward, state your name and your address. We were going to give you recognition, but come and recognize yourself, please. Sure. Name, address, and state your business.
My name is Scott Allen. I reside at S42W25312 Dale Drive, town of Waukesha. I just wanted to come tonight and introduce myself and say hello. As many of you know, I am a Republican candidate for the 97th Assembly District. If I am fortunate enough to win the election in November, which the odds are pretty good at this point, I will be your next state representative. And so just wanted to extend an offer to you to, once I get my office in place, feel free to call. You're welcome to provide input on any legislation that may be pending before the state or any legislation that the town feels should be initiated. I welcome your input, and I wish for an open dialogue between all the residents of the 97th District so that we can have the best state government we can have, and we can have the best state that we can have. I'd also entertain any questions if you had any questions for me. I didn't think you would. Pleasure meeting you.
Congratulations on your victory, Mr. Allen, and it is really good to have a town of Waukesha resident representing the 97th District. So we wish you well and congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other citizens' comments? Name and address for the clerk, please.
Karen Hansen, West 234 South 5460 Big Bend Road. During the past few weeks, I've been researching what state and national programs say about alcohol and youth. I encourage you to view the Mothers Against Drunk Driving, the MAD website at mad.org. We all want a safer future, particularly for our children, no matter what their age. We want to protect them from danger, yet we need to be reminded that we as parents, the adults in our community, are the major influence in preteen and teenagers' decisions about drinking. So if we consume alcohol freely, anywhere in their presence, we convey the attitude that drinking is okay, anywhere. If we cannot do without a beer or two, or however many, while we're watching them play, or compete in team sports for an hour or so, we convey the attitude that drinking is a natural companion to fun. If we drink and drive, we imply that even under the influence of alcohol, we are capable drivers. How can we as leaders in our community contribute to the positive outlook for the lives of our town of Waukesha families? Let's commit ourselves to sober driving, prevent possibilities that adults could provide alcohol to underage drinkers. Let's take a stand. Let's take a stand on creating alcohol-free atmospheres for youth development and recreation. If you think carefully about what this means, you cannot ever consider issuing a liquor license to the Five Diamonds Youth Sports Complex or any other youth-related facility. I want my document as part of the permanent public record.
Thank you very much for your comments. Anyone else who would like to address the board with citizens' comments? Please come forward. Seeing no one else, we'll move on. The next item on our agenda is to take up the matters that were considered by the Plan Commission earlier this evening. Item 5A is a discussion and possible action on the site plan and plan of operation amendment for Alpenglow Investments LLC. The applicant is Ken Welsh, and the location is W246 S3245 Industrial Lane. Town Board, how would you like to proceed?
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the recommendation of the town Planning Commission.
Second it. Motion has been made and seconded to accept the recommendation of the Town Plan Commission. Discussion.
Question, Mr. Chairman. I know that the provisions 1 through 5 were part of the recommendation. Maybe I missed it, but why not number 6?
We can't, you were here probably in the audience, the plan commission didn't explain it, they just didn't want to include it. We had the planner, when he's here yet, to say why he had recommended it, but they didn't accept that as part of their recommendation. But I didn't hear a reason given, maybe I missed it. We have to assume then that they didn't think it was necessary.
Very good, thank
It
you.
would be a speculation on our part, if they didn't comment, we asked them to comment, and the maker of the motion made it very clear, and clarified upon request that he just wanted 1 through 5. You're certainly able to make that, have that discussion, and then decide whether you think it's necessary.
Oh, thank you, I'm fine, I just wasn't sure if I misheard.
Further discussion?
I mean, everybody should know, if they, as you get to know me, I give the kitchen sink, and Jamie and I have been working together, so we give you every possibility, and then you decide what you think's important or not, because you make the policy decisions for your community. So fair enough, you're gonna see this many times, that we're gonna put in a lot of stuff, and you may decide that it's just to get the thought processes going, and they throw every issue out there, and then you decide which ones are important. So we're just staff, we don't make policy.
Understood.
Okay, a motion has been made and seconded to accept the recommendation of the Plan Commission for approval of the site plan and plan of operation amendment for Alpenglow Investments LLC. Assuming that everyone understands the motion, we will proceed to vote. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. We do have on our agenda under 5B a discussion and possible action on the final plat, the applicant owner Rolling Oaks 2 Phase 2 location, part of the northeast 1/4, southeast 1/4, northeast 1/4, and northwest 1/4, and southwest 1/4 of section 24, town 6 north, range 19 east, northeast corner of Beheim Road and Guthrie Road. For those of you who were all present, and I think we were during the Plan Commission meeting, this was simply a discussion. The Plan Commission took no action, but I see Mr. Bellman is still here. If there are questions of any of the town board members, I think that would be in order. If there's nothing, Mr. Bellman, you don't have any other pearls of wisdom to share with us?
The only other update would be just on the status of the development. The Energies is in there right now, putting in gas and electric, and we're gonna stone and pave it about a week and a half ago, but then the rain came, and then the Energies came right after, so that's gonna be happening shortly after the Energies leave, and we'll be ready to go.
Okay. If there are no further questions, we'll move on. Item 6, we have before us the minutes of the meeting of August 28th, 2014.
I'd like to make a motion to table the minutes from August 28th, 2014.
Motion to table, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor of tabling the consideration of the minutes, I might just ask, is that a table to a date certain or to the next meeting?
Next meeting.
Next meeting, okay, table by Supervisor Durr to the next meeting, seconded by Supervisor Radke. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. All right, then we have some items of new business for discussion and possible action, of which there are 2. The first one is a sign permit request. The applicant is Waukesha State Bank. Location is South 31, West 25995 Sunset Drive. Tax key number is WAKT-1358-989. Is there a representative of the bank here this evening? There is not. Okay. Are you, Planner Barczyk, are you proceeding to introduce this item?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before you tonight is a sign request from Waukesha State Bank. They are looking to install 5 freestanding vinyl banners with aluminum frames. These will be placed on the drive-through aisles of the bank and then also next to the ATM machine. Each sign will be roughly 8 square feet in size and is going to be used for advertising for the bank. I did look at our ordinance, section 13-2-15, with regard to the provisions for freestanding signs. These proposed signs, as well as the existing square footage of the pylon sign that they have, are all in compliance with section 13-2-15 of our ordinance. So tonight before you, I do have a recommendation for approval, subject to 4 conditions. First one is that they comply with our sign section for freestanding signs. The second condition is that they install the signs as depicted in the renderings that we received, which are part of the uniform sign permit application that Martin puts together. Third is that they just obtain their permits before putting the signs in. And then number 4 is payment of all town fees. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn it back over to the town board for any questions.
Questions, comments?
I'd like to make a motion that we grant the sign permit request to Waukesha State Bank.
Second.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded to approve.
Just to clarify that, with the 4 staff recommendations.
Fair enough. To approve the request for the sign permit from Waukesha State Bank with the 4 conditions that Planner Rybarczyk has outlined. Is there discussion? I would like to just, I guess, ask 1 or 2 things. I'll make a comment and then just a question. The comment would be, historically, we have typically expected or required applicants to be, or the representatives to be present at meetings. I think this is a fairly simple matter. I don't know that that's a necessity in this instance, but I just say that for observational purposes. The other thing, and it might be a bit afield of the thing that's directly in front of us, but to Planner Rybarczyk, just a question for you, and I have looked at this from time to time, but our town code sign ordinance is section 13-2-15. Is that basically the sign ordinance?
Correct.
My question to you would be, is there any question in your mind when you apply that it is clear in all respects? It's kind of an open-ended question. And by asking it, I'm not sure that I clearly understand it.
Section 13-2-15 is clear as mud. Is my response. Martin and I have worked very well together since I've been on board. We have had to look at some past practices, but yes, for example, we have had some sign requests that our ordinance says you're allowed 400 square feet, but it's not very clear as if it's 400 square feet per side, per elevation, or is it 400 square feet per the entire building. We've also run into some issues where the ordinance may say that it's 400 square feet, but it's a multi-tenant building. So we have to look at it as, is it 400 square feet for every tenant, or is it 400 square feet per building? And if there's 4 tenants, then you only get 100 square feet. So I have had discussions with Kathy and other staff that hopefully at some point we will be looking at sections of our zoning ordinance and try to clarify some of that. But until then, right now, we've been discussing these at staff level and trying to do the best with what we have. But there's interpretation with regard to the signage ordinance, and we've been doing it on a case-by-case basis.
Is it fair to say, and I don't want to confuse the issue, those things about which there may not be clarity really are of no consequence or relevance to this request by Waukesha State Bank? Is that
That is
a
correct.
fair conclusion?
That is correct.
And again, I'm sure Attorney Macy would tell us we ought not talk about that at any length tonight, but that's something that kind of needs to be put on the to-do list. Is that fair?
That is fair.
Okay. Any further discussion with regard to the request from Waukesha State Bank that's before us for the sign permit?
Mr. Chairman, I would only add that all the communities are looking at this issue. They consider it a pretty straightforward issue. This is a new type of signage, believe it or not, and we hadn't seen these before necessarily, or at least in the same vein, 8 square feet, on each drive-through. On the drive-throughs, it doesn't seem to be a problem. In fact, maybe you'd say McDonald's is already doing this and as part of their boards. But other communities are struggling with how do you do it at Starbucks? How do you do it at other locations that aren't as obvious as a drive-through lane? And so when you review this, ultimately, and do they have to meet setbacks, side yards? What kind of construction do you need to make sure they're not blowing all over the place? And so, again, we didn't see as a staff an issue with the Waukesha State Bank, but I've had 2 other staff meetings in the last, this week, where they're struggling with how do we deal with these in other locations other than banks. So that's just for food for thought, and eventually you're gonna be asked to address it in other manners that may not be quite as simple and straightforward as this one. So the sooner we can get the code fixed, or the issues of the code fixed, the better, is all I would say.
Okay, thank you. There is a motion on the table that has been seconded to approve the sign permit request from Waukesha State Bank with the 4 staff recommendations that Planner Robarczyk has been providing to us. If there's no further discussion, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. Item 7B under new business for discussion and possible action is noticed as address flags versus address tiles for town properties. We have our own Vanna White right up here in front, right? This request was made, as noted in our agenda, by James Kowalski to have this put on the agenda. In fact, I think he has presented that at least twice to this town board, so that is on there for discussion and possible action. Members of the board, what would you like to see?
I did do some research for you. The cost of the sign and installation is approximately $30 each, and that is if we chose a color that was not a custom color. This color here, this burgundy, is actually a custom color, and they would not guarantee that this would stand up to the elements for longevity. The normal colors would be blue, green, or red. At $30 a household, that would be approximately $93,000.
Thank you. Who's next?
As long as we have it on the agenda for discussion, I'll discuss. I think it's a great idea. I think there is a significant amount of conversation, education, notification that needs to take place ahead of time. The condition of many of our tiles in the town are dysfunctional and unuseful. But in light of that, there's many of our residences who have taken the initiative to purchase other adequate decorative signage for their addresses, and they may not take too kindly to taking this on a stake in the middle of their front lawn, and we need to be sensitive of those issues. I think we should initiate a discussion on it and have it be an ongoing discussion, start to publicize it, start to communicate it in our newsletters, start to make some decisions about how we want to fund it, whether we would want to do it over a multi-year plan or in a single year, whether we would want to make it mandatory or optional, things like that. But I think it's going to take a fair amount of communication with the residents, because while I'm in favor of it, I don't know that everybody would be, and they have a right to be heard.
Thank you, Supervisor Durr. Anyone else?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I agree. I think they're great signs. I know when I was campaigning in the spring and saw our neighboring communities that had them, it made visibility easier, but they were newer signs. I don't know the weatherability of these, if in 10 years or 15 years they're going to fade and are similar to what some of our residents have now. I've seen the ornate and artistic ones that are out there, and I think there will be many residents that will object to it. I guess I would have a hard time going to the town and saying that we're going to increase your taxes by 20% higher than what last year's increase was for the sake of putting signs out. I do think for a fire department, EMT services and pizza delivery guys, they're a great and wonderful thing. I would like to see them as an option, and I don't know if that is an option now for residents to buy them and put them up in place of tiles now at their own discretion. And maybe something as simple as any new construction, that would be part of the code for new construction, that they put those up.
Thank you, sure.
The one thing that you might want to consider is choosing a color and letting Lang know what the color would be. We do have residents out there right now that go to Lang and they can purchase theirs themselves, and we could have some that are green, some that are red, and some that are blue out there. So if we want to stay consistent throughout the town, we might want to consider that.
Anyone else? I'll just make a comment or two, and it may a bit echo what others have said. This would be a significant financial investment. I mean, call it $100,000. I think there's probably different options that we could use to finance that, whether it's assessed directly to people or they pay as they go. I don't know whether that's even possible to put on a tax bill or whatever, but it's a significant sum of money. I mean, we're in the process right now of looking at the town budget, which will be presented in November of this year, but 2 months away, to the electorate to assess the tax levy and have the town board adopt the budget. To be sure that process will, as it always does, have more requests for expenditure than we'll have revenue to go around. That's a significant sum of money. Certainly there's a possibility of doing some of that over some period of time. I'm just a little comfortable about the whole issue of implementation, about something like that. If it's phased in, I'm a little concerned even about making it optional. I mean, that sounds like it solves a lot of problems in some instances, but I think we've got to think through that. I would certainly not consider, from my perspective, different colors by owner's choice if we go that direction as optional. I think we absolutely need to have an extensive amount of opportunity for residents to provide feedback on this issue. I'm not resolved on my own personal opinion on this. I want to hear from people. I actually think there's some places in parts of the town that this may be more appropriate than others. One of the things that I would like to suggest that we get some information on, and I see we've got some great people sitting in the back there from the sheriff's department and from the fire department. I mean, I would like to think we would want to ask our emergency responders what the value of benefit of that type of signage would be as opposed to the tiles that we now have. I know there's a lot of changes in terms of electronically how you find locations and addresses with GPS systems and so forth. I don't know whether it's appropriate, even if anybody wants to respond to that tonight. This is for discussion, but at some point in time, I think those voices need to be heard, whether they would consider that to be a valuable asset in an emergency response for locating a property. I have no idea what that answer is, but I think the question should be asked. So I think we need a lot of discussion on this. I think it's something that probably should even be put up on the website to have people know we're considering it. I mean, every possible way we can communicate. So those are a few of my thoughts.
I'd agree with that. We do need to get feedback on this, and I think one of the good ways is to put it on the website. Let people know we are considering it. My son is on the fire department, and I know he complains all the time about non-posted houses in our town, and I know there's a number of them out there. And when there's a structure fire, it's Dan will say the same thing, it's very easy to see. You see the glow in the sky. But when there's an EMS call at night in some of these residents, unless you've been around for a while and know the people and where they live, it can be hard to find people. So I do think we need to do a study for it, but I do think it would help our services to be able to locate some of the houses.
Mr. Chairman, just a couple of questions. Clerk Nicholas, you said the estimated cost was $30 installed? Is that from the manufacturer, from Lang?
That's from Lane.
Okay.
Just one other, and maybe Attorney Macy even wants to jump in on this one again, just trying to put everything in place. If we were persuaded as a board that we wanted to head off in this direction, regardless of how we funded, one of the questions that occurs to me is the magnitude of that. Is that something that would have to be publicly bid, and even how many possible vendors, suppliers who are out there who can respond to that? I don't know the answer to that question, but would we be obliged to try to get people to provide competitive proposals or bids for that if we were to be persuaded that that's the thing to do?
I have not researched that issue. My gut reaction, it does not meet the definition of a public construction project. So you would only go out for competitive bids in order to, address the issue that you have done your due diligence in this regard. But I don't think it's considered a public construction project to buy them.
Thank you. We're not compelled to do anything with this tonight. You can take some kind of action. It's set up for discussion or possible action. Board have any pleasure other than to at least commit to this as something we need to discuss further in the future? Okay, then we will move on, and we do have reports that have been noticed. We have representatives here from the Sheriff's Department. Would you come forward, please, at this time and present your report? And waiting in the wings will be the Fire Chief. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Deputy Jazeski, Waukesha County Sheriff's Department. The following is the statistics for the town of Waukesha through the Waukesha County Sheriff's Department. For August 2014, in August 2014, we had 81 total calls for service. In the category that we label enforcement, we had 15 911 hangups, 4 alarms, 7 assist other agencies, 14 assist fire or EMS, 7 disabled vehicle calls, 67 house or building checks, 2 suspicious persons or vehicles, 33 citations were issued, 2 parking citations were issued, 7 written warnings were given, 17 verbal warnings were issued. There were 3 process service attempts, 4 citizen service or walk-in complaints, 8 follow-up investigations, 3 well-being checks, 1 railroad crossing complaint. Moving on to traffic incidents, we had 2 personal injury accidents and 8 other traffic offenses. Moving on to the incidents category, we had 3 animal cases, 2 batteries, 1 burglary, 1 incident concerning a controlled substance, 2 criminal damage to property incidents, 3 disorderly conducts, 4 instances of fraud. I apologize. 5 loud noise complaints, 4 theft complaints, 1 violation of a court order, and there were 3 incidences for all other offenses.
Thank you, officer. Questions, comments? Thank you very much for serving the town of Waukesha. Chief Buchholz.
Month of August has actually been our quietest month of the entire year. We had 27 ambulance requests, 4 motor vehicle accidents, and 8 fire responses. We gave mutual aid twice. We received mutual aid 5 times during the month. We had 1 member return from leave of absence to active duty. 2 members left the department in August and moved out of the area. 2 members went on leave of absence. Right now, we're operating with 36 active members, 4 members on leave of absence, a secretary-treasurer. Our fire inspector took a new job up in northern Wisconsin. His last day was today. He remains on the payroll for his vacation that he has coming to him yet, but he's done as of today. Hose test is going to be this Saturday here at the station, so there will be some disruption in the parking lot, just so everyone's aware of that. Fire Prevention Week's coming up, the first full week of October. We've got a number of programs that actually start this weekend. We're going to be at a program in the town of Vernon on the 14th of September in conjunction with them. We're doing an event at Pick and Save over at the shops of Fox River, including a brat sale this Saturday as well. And we're participating with North Prairie in their Harvest Fest event this weekend on Sunday. That first week of October, we'll be going to Rose Glen School. We'll have programs kindergarten through 5th grade. That will be on probably 2 days. The days aren't totally set yet, but that'll be between the week of the 6th of October and 10th of October.
Chief, could you tell us when the pancake breakfast is?
Pancake breakfast, that's one thing I didn't put on here, I guess. Our pancake breakfast to kick off Fire Prevention Week is the first Saturday of October. I believe that's the 4th of October. Everyone come and eat.
Tickets available as people leave the meeting tonight?
They sure can be.
Okay. Any questions of Chief? Thank you. Item 9, accounts payable, authorized paying of the bills. Clerk Treasurer Nicholas, before us is the check detail dated September 12, 2014. Is it correct that the total of the bills to consider for payment tonight is $89,021.44?
That's correct.
Okay, comments, questions, motions?
Make a motion that we pay the bills in that amount.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pay the bills in the amount of $89,021.44. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. A motion for adjournment would be in order.
Move to adjourn.
You want the glory of the second?
Sure.
All right. It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. We are adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
8:20. $7:40.